Welcome to a new episode of the DJwivesLV podcast. Make sure you subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. Don't miss any updates. Follow DJwivesLV on Instagram. And now, coming at you from Las Vegas, let's begin.
Welcome to the DJwivesLV podcast. I'm Bev.
And I'm Tanya.
And I'm Raquel.
Today we have guests, DJ and Turntablist extraordinaire, Deuce Ace, and his beautiful wife, Toni.
Welcome.
Hi, guys. Thanks for having us.
Thank
going,
you for
guys?
joining us.
We're so glad you're here.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you for having us. It's super cool.
No,
So
this
there's-
is like great because
Really?
we need to get away, like, you know,
Well,
parenthood.
We're glad we can do that for you.
Yes. I know you guys had a quick story as you were anticipating to join us this afternoon. What was your story behind rushing in here?
Oh my God. So, you know, besides being a parent and, you know, just holding it down, whatever, for the family, right? So our kids, we had to pick them up from jujitsu. And the little one, the youngest one, is like crouched over. And I was like, what's wrong with her? So then I'm driving her. We're about to go to B-boy class, right? BTR breaking, plug. And so all of a sudden she gets up and I was like, usually she's full of life after class, right?
No.
Just
All over the back seat. Yeah.
and I was all, good thing I was sitting in the back because I had switched with my daughter who just sprained her ankle, is now in a little like scooter roller thing.
So we're racing to
It's been
pick her up at
It's been
gymnastics.
a week. So anyway, we took care of it, dropped her off at Lola's house, and
Nice.
cleaned it up real quick. And I was like, don't get it off. I'm a
Oh my
smartphone in there.
God.
But
No
we're
way.
good. We're good.
Yeah, so thank you guys for being here. I think like everyone here in Vegas, we all come from somewhere else, right? So what tell us about your hometown, where you guys came from originally.
So I'm originally from San Lorenzo, California, and but I moved down to LA in 2001 to go to Cal State Northridge. And yeah, CSUN too, Matadors. There we go.
All righty then. Okay.
And then I kind of just stayed in like SoCal ever since. And obviously, like I met Toni actually in the first class that I had that semester.
Wow.
She was like actually my first friend in LA.
Wow.
And yeah, for sure you were.
Are you sure about that?
Absolutely.
Let me drink.
Really?
And yeah, so and then we were there since, and then we moved out to Vegas September of 2021.
2021.
Yeah,
Pretty recent.
very recently.
Welcome to Las Vegas,
Yeah.
new resident.
Yes.
Love it
Hey,
out here.
switched over your home address, driver's license,
Yep.
everything yet?
I
All right.
changed
Oh,
my
yeah.
area
Legit.
code, everything.
License
right?
plate switched up.
Locals.
Legit.
They're legit locals. So
Wow, that's pretty recent, right?
Yeah, very recent.
So
I
why
wish I did
Vegas?
it sooner.
So with the passing of both our fathers, it was kind of like, all right, well, what's our next step? So my mom was joining us. So I was like, well, we can't really have her with our 3 kids in our home in West Hills, which was, you know, it's a blessing still. But then we're like, we can probably find a bigger place outside of Cali, right? So long story short, we said Texas. And I was like, ooh, I'm not going all the way over there. That's far. And then if we have to drive, it's just,
Right.
you know, and travel is just the consideration. He was thinking of Florida, and I was like, nah, it's extreme. And I was like, what about Vegas? We never saw or pictured ourselves here, right? So it's like, because we don't know anything outside of the Strip, and it's always
Right.
like, oh, it's just the Strip. Like, what are you going to do in Vegas? So I drove here with my oldest daughter, and ultimately it was her decision because she's in 8th. She would have been in 8th grade, and I'm like, you know, it's up to you. You're in gymnastics, so she's already established her friendships and stuff.
Nice.
We came out here. We literally toured Vegas in one whole day and, like, you know, checked out all the little pockets and
Yes.
stuff outside of the Strip. And she was like, okay, Mom, we can do this. And so we had a realtor, and then I called him up. I was like, hey, let's start looking. And within 30 days, we locked in a house.
Wow.
Sold ours within 2 days of listing. It was nuts.
2 days.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, right? Yeah, we listed on a Friday. We sold it on a Monday.
Oh
We got an offer that weekend. Packed our stuff. I caught COVID. Still packed the U-Haul. Drove my ass here with a mask. It was insane. But yeah, we love it here. It's
Wow.
absolutely like it's a fun change. I think. Yeah.
So you don't have family here in Las Vegas. It was one of those where it felt right with the location, having to be close to home, California, with obviously friends and family you still have over there. So this was just like you guys did a quick turnaround trip per se.
I mean, yeah.
Well, she has an aunt and uncle that lived out here, and but I just remember like driving around like in the suburbs. I was like, wait a minute, this is crazy. I was like, this house is half the price of what it is in like in LA or the Bay Area, because all I knew was a strip, and it was like, if someone would ask me, would you want to move to Vegas? I was like, no, I get bored after 3 days. I don't gamble. I like to party, but I was like, I don't gamble.
It's a good thing you probably
yeah.
don't, you know.
And then I just fell in love with like
That's awesome.
so many parts of Vegas.
It is. For the kids, too. Most people and families don't think that it's a family type of city or state to live in.
Very much.
But there is. It's just like the hidden spots and stuff. And
Yeah.
you get, as a local resident, you tend to go outside of the strip and get to realize that you can still have great times, good events around, and build on community. So that's great. We're glad that you're here. Welcome to Las Vegas.
Yay.
Thank you. And honestly, like, I mean, we've had, our pockets of friends too, like Ryan, and like, we have our friends that were already established here. So then we were just like, hey, let's reconnect and and it was like time didn't pass. So it was easier to just, pick up where we left off. So
Nice.
it's been good. And I think it was a good change from California to here. It's just a different energy,
Yes.
a different vibe. And for us as a growing family, it was necessary,
That's
with
great.
losing our parents and then
No, I know.
kind of transitioning into our next like phase of whatever this is.
Right. No, emotionally, financially, it was fitting for you guys to
Very
just
much.
take that.
Mhm.
So we're glad you're here, and thank you for sharing that story. That's great.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think we're all in the same boat, right? Like parenthood.
Scenario, California to
Pretty
Las
identical.
Vegas.
We're
Yeah.
all California from here, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and then if I meet somebody that is a local and I'm like, thank you. I almost feel like it's an homage to them. Like, thank you for, even some people are like, oh, you're the one that brought the traffic.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, there is no
Some
traffic.
people don't like us.
Yeah.
But this
we
is not
like to
traffic.
talk
Right.
about
No, it is far from traffic.
California.
Right?
Shoot.
So, John, were you DJing while you were there in LA?
Yeah. So not as much like in the clubs. Like I think I stopped really being out in the clubs. I want to say maybe around 2015, 2016, around there. But I was still DJing. I was like recording and tinkering, like doing stuff for rappers and MCs
Like
and
production.
Yes.
a lot of production. And but I would jam with the homies out there, like my boys Ronix, Exist, that's out there, Spinobi, and we would just have like crazy jam sessions, and we obviously we would record it, put it on social media, whatever. But it's more of an outlet for me. Like now, it's like I don't have the pressure of like I have to get a gig,
Yes.
to make a buck. Now it's just like I'm gonna hop on the turntable just to rip shit,
Exactly.
and then that's really no more, no less. It's just for me just to like express.
Nice.
So really
Yeah.
for the love of it.
Yeah. It's kind of like the same reason why I got into DJing in the first place. I was just super fascinated, but now it's like I'm at a level where I feel like I've gone to like I can create what I'm thinking now, whereas 10, 15 years ago I could, but I didn't. It took longer for me to convey that message on a recording, I guess.
Right.
So the transition from LA to here was pretty smooth then, because there was no pressure. Like a lot of people hear a DJ move to Vegas and they think, oh, where are you playing?
Yeah, no,
But
I
it's
mean,
not like
I
that.
mean, I got homies, and you guys know some of my homies. Like they got pretty burnt by the industry out here, and it sucks to hear. It's like it pains me to even hear it.
Yes.
But I'm very fortunate. Like I didn't come out here for that.
Yes.
So that's why I get to like just enjoy it.
Good.
So when did you start?
1994.
1994.
I had no intention to DJ. Two of my friends, they got a deal. They bought 2 belt-driven Geminis and I want to say it was a Stanton mixer or a Gemini. It was actually Gemini, and they tried DJing, but they were more into scratching then, right? And so like they were cutting it up, and I was like, it was like that sounds like trash. I was like, I was like, I don't even want to like mess with that, right? And then one of my friends showed me the concept of mixing and just timing 2 different records at the same time, and I got it like this. And it was that moment where I was like, holy cow, this is insane. And I just been like, it just
Right.
consumed me for even to this day. Like I'm still trying to decode things and just super fascinated by it. But I had no intentions I loved hip hop. I listened to it a lot. I was like, coming from the Bay, it was like I was around a lot of like underground hip hop, whether it's MCs, rappers, graffiti heads. Like those were guys I went to school with, right? And so, but yeah, I was very fortunate. It was just like the time was just right there, and like I remember to this day, it was probably like midnight, and I was at a friend's house, and I mixed 2 records. I'm like, this is insane.
That's all that did it.
Did you end up buying your own equipment?
I
if you did, what did you buy?
I did like probably like 5 years later.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you practice?
I would go to their house.
Yeah.
But so even before that, so my boy Spoon, and I remember his parents. They moved from like from San Leandro, one part of San Leandro to another part. He asked, he's like, is it cool if I leave my 1200s at your house? And he had like, at the time, he had like 6 crates of records, and it was like,
Hell yeah.
the Big L's was in the Gang Stars, and just like dope stuff. And it turned out like it was at my house for like a good 2 months, and that's all I did. I was making mixtapes and just trying to sound like the DJs that like I would hear on the radio, and just trying to mimic them, and sounded like trash, but. I
you knew in your heart you had
but
that.
I was like,
I'm
this
good
is fascinating.
at this.
Yeah.
So who were your influences?
Whew, man, early on, like it would be like, so early on was like the mixing days, right? So like a lot of it was like perfect 8-bar blend. So it was a lot of guys on like 94.9 KML, right? But on the hip hop tip, there was the ISP, the junkies, like, but they influenced me in different levels. So at that time, coming from the Bay Area, you were either like, at least in my eyes, you were like a dope mixer, perfect 8-bar blends, or you were hardcore into scratching. There wasn't like there wasn't really that much of a medium, and then it wasn't until 2001 when I drove down in my car to move from the Bay to LA, and I started listening to Mr. Chalk. This was like around like 12 o'clock. Trick mixing. Coming from the Bay, I've never heard trick mixing in my life. Like they were like rearranging the songs, but it still had the same context of the song. Yeah. It still kept the party growing. And then that sparked me like looking to J-Rock even more, looking for all the junkies of like even Havoc, right. like just seeing like how they would do it. And then Havoc becomes like one of my good friends, and so he started showing me some things. But and then on the hardcore, on the scratching tip, I was kind of like just like with my crew, like the Jimi Hendrix guys, like Presto, Earwax, Exist, Charlie Darker, those guys. But so we started training a lot, like in just experimenting and just
how
recording.
did that come together?
San Leandro. So Presto was actually Charlie Darker's uncle, and this was 2003. I was still in LA, but at that time I met this guy named Earwax. And then so me and Charles, we started doing a lot of mobiles together. We started practicing together a lot. And then we moved one weekend, we went up to Charlie Darker's studio in San Leandro, and we had a jam session. And that was one jam session, right? It was I've never done anything like that before in my life.
Right.
And then we go to my boy Data's house, also in San Leandro. Started getting down. We started making just literally making like off the top routines, if you want to call it routines, but things were making sense. Yeah. And so I go back down to that Monday. We drive back down to LA. Presto hits us all up. It was like, hey, what do you guys think of like we should start a crew, call it Jimi Hendrix? I was like, fucking, I'm down. I was like, that's all I need to hear. I was like, I'm in. I've never been part of like any crew of any sort. I was like, I look up to all you guys. Like, you guys are dope. I was like, I want to be like you guys. So I was like, yeah, I'm with it.
Yeah, you want to work together.
Yeah.
What is your favorite mixer?
It's still the S9. Well, actually, of all time, I like my favorite is a good old 05. Was probably like still my favorite. Oh, yeah. Like it's built like a tank, and the faders as dope as the newer ones. No, it's not. But for me, it was like that's the one where I started like finding my voice on the turntables around that time, and I started doing a lot of gigs with it. And it was just super basic, super simple, 2 channels. But the best part, it had a hamster switch, and so before I would have to like take the right turntable, plug it into the left, like if I'm scratching. But now I could just hit the switch and I could go reverse on the fader.
And so you said you took a break, but then did you keep all your equipment?
Yeah, well, I never really I never took a break. So I've always I may not have been in the spotlight, but I was always trying to learn. I was just learning I mean, I could listen to anything like say if I listen to radio or Spotify, it doesn't even have to be a song. I'll hear a sound and I'm like, I wonder how can I recreate it, remix it, add a different layer to it, and just build on it. And there's really no science to my madness. I just record it, and if I feel like it's good enough, I'm like, yeah, it's good enough, and on to the next.
And so in this, all of this back and forth with the guys, where was Toni during all this time?
So we started dating so I graduated 2005. She graduated 2004, and I come out here to DJ the Magic Fashion Convention, and so around that time, I actually for my last semester I interned at KMEL, and so that was my last class. I was I told my parents hey, I'm gonna move back to the Bay. I'm gonna do internship at this radio station, and
so you moved back during that time?
Yeah, I moved back just for a couple years. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I already graduated, so I was working. I was working as a producer at what was I doing?
I think at MTV.
You guys had the same majors, or?
Yeah, we were both communications majors, and that's how we met. We were in class. Yeah, radio, TV, film. So I graduated 2004. He took a little longer, the longer route, which is great. Whatever, to each his own.
So I used to do sidewalk radio show, internet. So that was with Charlie Darker and Verbs. Yeah. And then I used to do Cerritos All Stars, a NorCal edition. So I would drive all the way to Sacramento to do these internet shows.
Projects behind the scenes. You just didn't know that.
And so
I knew, honey.
These were the days of the sidekick.
Right? He would hit me up and be like, "Hey,
want to go?"
He would just literally hit me up sidewalk.com, and I'm like,
"Tune in 7 o'clock."
Right. Oh, really? That was his poke. You know how we have pokes now? That was his poke, and then I'd be like, "Oh, okay, whatever." And he would do that every so often, and then I was like, "Oh, that's cute."
Well, you guys were friends or dating already?
No, we were
just
dated. We were just friends. It wasn't until I come out here for Magic Fashion Convention, and I remember Rex was with me, and we're walking down the hall, and our friend Gabe, and Gabe goes that girl's cute. And I was like,
no, that's not how the story went.
I didn't know it was her because she was 100 yards down.
Toni.
So I was working a booth. I was working for MTV at the time. So we had our booth, and then we were at the first level, and he was walking with Charles and Gabe, and I recognized him, and I'm over here like a dork, hi. What's up? And I'm saying hi to him, and I guess Gabe was like,
you were saying hi to him.
He's saying, yeah, I guess. So he's like, no, she's saying hi to you. And so he's always in his own little tunnel. So he finally realizes it's me. And then we were supposed to kick it that night. And his sidekick didn't work because it didn't have reception.
No reception.
So he tried to hit me up, whatever. We never linked up. And then I guess he already made it home. And then I was like, hey, what happened to you? And that's when I was like, hey, I'm going to San Jose to visit some family in Milpitas. And then we linked up, and here we are. Almost 15 years? No, 17 years.
Yeah.
15 years married.
Wow.
Yeah.
So no dating, but you guys just hooked up.
Nope.
Or what does that mean?
we were friends.
We were
you know what I mean? But it wasn't until
college.
we bumped into each other out here in Vegas, out of all places.
Okay.
That's
And
when
then dating.
then we started dating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
So you dated for 2 years before you guys.
Yeah.
That was quick, John.
Yeah.
Tell me, what do you guys like to do for fun?
Uh,
You guys.
We just for ourselves.
Yes.
That's something weird. I need to get better at because we get so busy of running our business, running the kids, running back and forth. But that is something I definitely got to work on of having that that one-on-one time with Toni.
It's hard with young kids, though.
It is.
It is.
But I think we're learning too, as a woman, we have certain expectations of oh, we don't have quality time, this and that. But I'm we're always with each other.
Yeah.
So there's a time where I'm just I gotta go. So that's where I go over there and I go get my 25 minutes of dance time, and then I go back home, and I'm good. Even that, and then I have obviously my own projects that I have to have. If I don't have my own personal goals and my personal like passion projects, or helping the community, or volunteering or whatever, there's really no quality in ourselves, because then I'll be bugging him like, what do you think? What do you want to do? You want to go on a date? Like, you want to go eat? So it's just, I've learned to just kind of let him take control of his schedule, and then my schedule is kind of, it's important to just kind of prioritize myself before I can pour from my cup, because my kids, if I'm not together, like, forget it. They're like, mommy's evil. Like, so.
I like having the kids just busy with whatever activities. So, like, whether, like, one's at drum lessons or band or jiu-jitsu. It doesn't matter what activity it is, as long as, like, they're busy doing something and not just, like, being idle when, you can start thinking, you can probably start getting into trouble. And these days,
Generation's tough.
You can find some trouble just, like, going on the phone,
Yes.
And
I like that play on how you guys
still,
are busy.
It's a challenge.
And get them social. So nowadays, it's kind of hard to get them out of the house. So that's
Well,
a good call.
Let's talk about 9 Doors Down.
Yes.
That's your business.
Is that your business together?
Yes.
Yes.
Where did the name come from? I'm curious.
That falls on her too.
No, you can tell the story. I think I talk too much. I'm always like.
So this is like before we moved out to Vegas, and when COVID hit, I started working from home, but I had all this time, and I remember like I tried doing Twitch too. And I was like, oh, but this OBS stuff is like a little too complicated. I was like,
He's asking me for help. I was like, I don't know what you're doing.
I would ask the homies how to set it up, but I was like, I just want to just play music, right? And so I did it a few times, but I was like, you know what? I think there's something else that I want to research and stuff. And at that time, I started looking into like commercial real estate, like multifamily, like apartments and self-storages, and I saw like a strategy of like how we can implement it in our lives. And so in summer of 2021, we closed on a 9-unit property in Tucson. And then when we're driving back to LA, so we have 2 partners, Anthony and Ron. They're still out in LA. And then Anthony goes, well, we need an LLC name for this property. And then that's when she goes, 9 Doors Down. And it kind of just stuck ever since, and like we just kind of kept it. It doesn't sound like any other business. It sounds organic. Right. It sounds like fresh.
Is there meaning behind the 9?
It's because it's a 9-unit.
9-unit apartment was the first one they closed on. Yeah.
Well, I was like, what street was it on? It was like on Cactus Avenue, or we're like Cactus LLC
Los Altos.
or whatever. And then I was like, how many doors does it have? And so it was nice. Easy. Yeah.
Yeah, and ever since then, like, we just kind of like scaled it. We sold one rental home in Carson. We sold the West Hills, and we saw Las Vegas as an avenue to acquire more assets, as far as like properties in Texas, Arizona, and wherever. And now we're fortunate enough to work with others who want to get into real estate, and we partner up with people. And what people don't really realize that it's a team sport. It's not one person just taking us down. It's just, like you have like sometimes some deals might be 2 or 3 groups. Some deals might be 10, 11, 12. But because it's a team aspect, it's easier to scale and be successful at it, rather than just flipping one home at a time, or like renting one home at a time.
Right.
Yeah, and we're just trying to see. Just enjoy the ride,
Exactly.
Once here.
Do you guys have any advice for any like first-time investors?
I think knowing the difference between an asset and a liability, just know that, and I think your actions will start to follow, or of like whatever direction it may be. Yeah.
I think a lot of it is we're brought up into maybe a culture, or our families are so comfortable in like the W-2, or just, being comfortable in the safety net of a company or a job, right? So that was my life growing up. So then it was always pulling at my heartstrings, like, no, you're an entrepreneur. Like I've always had a small business. I had a side hustle everywhere I can be. I was doing something else, event planning. I did my musical theater company. So it was always something, but the W-2 always felt safe, right? But finally, when COVID hit, I think it really opened up our creativity to step outside of our comfort zone. And, after our dad's passing away, I was just like, we got to take the chance now because we're in that that box. We're still young enough that we have enough energy, but then we're getting there where we need to really plan for that next phase. And, we're lucky enough that we were able to, see those opportunities early enough to take advantage. And then after moving here, it's just been kind of an amazing, not a smooth ride, but it's been a ride. So it's been good. We're just kind of driving. Jesus is driving us around, and we're just following.
I feel like this is a different platform for you guys. It's an opportunity to reach out to more people.
Yeah.
Because, and especially in the DJ community, I mean, they need people like you, to,
know how to do what to their money, especially they're not on a W-2, so they need to produce and be able to uphold an income without having to feel like they got to work 5 gigs in a certain amount of time. And I think that's good that they have you guys as a backbone to probably inspire and, teach us ourselves to know what a business is and just kind of grow from there so that everybody kind of knows that it can be one of me as well, looking myself in the mirror, that can actually come and grow growth for what you guys are talking about and investing and building partnerships from every state, that there's.
So I was the opposite of her. I was never an entrepreneur.
Really?
I was just, I had my DJ business and stuff, but
totally different.
I was comfortable in a job, but it wasn't until New Year's Eve here, so December 31st, 2021. So we're just here a few months. I was with the company for 7 years out in LA, and then 15 of us hops on a Zoom call on New Year's Eve. We got laid off.
Wow.
So on New Year's Eve.
That is messed up.
Whoa.
Right?
Yeah.
Wow. Should we call it the business?
So I was like, well, I mean, I know I could still go on California unemployment for the time being, but I don't want to do that. And I was like, should I get another job? Which I know I could have and be successful, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna gamble on myself. I'm gonna see the seeds that we planted with 9 Doors Down. Let me see what we can accomplish in for the next 12 months. And now I look back, like it was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me.
Blessing
but for that weekend,
absolutely,
I was depressed. Like I just remember faking it for my kids to enjoy their first New Year's Eve here. Obviously for her, 'cause I was like, holy cow, we just moved here.
Exactly.
But so like some of the things that we accomplished last year, like I never would have believed it if someone were to ask me like in 2020, like some of the projects we've done.
What's crazy, guys, is that like when you are backed up against the wall, right? You're just like, all right, where are we at? And you want to push forward, but you don't know what is. The unknown is always like the scariest part, because we're like, all right, well, what's next, right? So when that happened, I wasn't afraid, because for me, it's like, well, we're here in America. Like we have options. Like, you're jobless right now, but we have this opportunity with this company to really scale. And I said, let's go.
Yes.
This is the time to like really push ourselves to take chances on ourselves, because we see those entrepreneurs, right? Like on TV and whatever, they're flipping houses and do all this stuff.
And I'm like, from something so minimal, I'm like,
absolutely.
I mean, it's typical, like being your person and neighbor next door. I'm like, So,
and it's true, and you're like, that can be me. Like, no, I'm gonna push ourselves. And it took a lot of like grit to get out of that funk, right? Like he was in a funk, I was in a funk. I was like, all right, I'm going to get my real estate license. Let me just push forward and push positive, right, as much as we needed to. But it was a little bit of a bloop, bloop, bloop.
Oh, absolutely.
So, but it's a beautiful story going back. And I'm like, within a year, you say to yourself, like, oh, I can't, I'll do it next year. No, do it right now. Take that chance on yourself, whatever the passion is. If it's a small business, if it's a, a creative outlet, whatever, and you want to monetize it, go for it. Like, now is the time. Like, your kids are watching, our kids are watching. These kids have all the opportunity to market themselves super easy, right? You don't need commercials. You just go on like TikTok or IG or whatever. But it was definitely like an eye opener. And for people that are like, oh, COVID hit and we like, we failed at this and that. It's like, no, those were times to really reflect on your potential as a mom, as a dad, as a parent, as a business owner. Like, pivot, flip it and
Yes.
like, you know, like a record, like flip it.
That's great
but-
advice.
Well, that's why, like,
when life
moving.
is not going, you just pick another record. There's another tune
Change
that
up
you're
the
gonna,
beat.
yeah, and it'll change the mentality and mindset. So
Yeah,
I
but
love
like moving to Vegas, like I call it a life hack, because if I was still in California, I'd be comfortable, right? But here, I didn't know anybody. We didn't know anybody, so we started going to like several different meetups, right? Then after a while, the people we meet at meetups, some of them becomes our partners on certain deals. And then we started throwing meetups. So I throw two out here. One of them is called Commercial Collaborators, which is just strictly just commercial real estate.
yes,
And then now we're our friends in the Bay Area. They started Investors Lounge Network, and so they started doing that in early 2022. We brought it down here to Vegas, and then now we're bringing it to Glendale. But the main difference is I'm bringing homies on the turntables. So I'm exposing like the investor world to like some of the dopest DJs that I know.
Absolutely.
So I'm
Get
like,
their name out, you get the business out. I mean, it's
yeah.
a
So
good
for me,
collaboration.
like thinking selfishly, I was like, dude, this is cool. I get to talk to other entrepreneurs while listening to some great music, and they're
Yes.
cutting it up, and like it gets no better than this.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah, and it's fun, you know, like we can still be ourselves.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, suit and tie where we're coming into a corporate meeting and, you know, pitching ideas. It's like, hey, if you're on board, you're on board. If you're ready to take that leap, let's go. But if not, we'll be here
Yes.
to, you know, share the ideas and brainstorm with you if you guys have like questions, because we're learning still.
Right.
You know, it's been a year. Yeah, we scaled, however, as deep as we're in now, but it's like we're still learning. Like there's so much more to learn. Like there's so many different avenues to real estate that you can be you can get creative.
Yeah.
You can invest as small as, you know, 5-10 grand into a deal, and or, you know, partner up with somebody and you can get a house, flip it, and you know, make money that way. But
Yeah, like I look at commercial real estate like a mixtape. Like you could literally, or like a remix. Like you could look at a situation, and then you have a vision, and then like, hey, I could get creative, and all I got to do is just link up like certain partners to come along with for the ride, and then next thing you know, the vision that we've had
Yes.
becomes a reality in like, you know, 5-6 months.
Right.
So I see maybe I'm off topic, whatever, but I do see like a little correlation to it.
No, I think it has a lot. It syncs, you know, when you have another investor with a different mindset, as if you were to have a DJ with his own skill.
Yeah.
But it's still something that you appreciate their own like craft, but then now you combine the two and look what it comes about to. I mean, it's all about growing from one thing, and like everything, you know.
Just like your marriage.
You have an artist, you have
Teamwork.
the music.
Yeah.
It's like,
Totally.
but I like that you always go back to the music or the, you know, something that's meaningful to you. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's where the passion is initially. And now you're taking it into your business and using it as an outlet when you do your organizations, your fundraisers, or anything that you guys still put out there to have everybody know your name and still involved your fellow colleagues,
Yeah.
DJs and everything. So you guys, I think everything for you guys is timing. The timing is always just where you feel it's like that hole in the wall. It's like, I think that's where you guys need to know that that's the timing for you guys to, you know, get out of there and kind of like throw the lifesavers and we're gonna do this, you know.
Right.
So it's there's a lot for you guys to say, and obviously we appreciate so much that you guys have to offer and giving us a little speck of a little bit of your lives and your business. And I'm sure we're gonna be looking forward to more stuff and more items. Maybe we will visit one of the events. And
Yeah, that'd be
you know,
awesome.
Tony, you have an event coming up, right?
yeah.
I do. So I throw a quarterly event. Well, my first one was in November, and it's called Mahalo Halo LV. And it's just it's kind of like inspired by us, like the Asian American Pacific Islander. But honestly, it's for the community. It's all for local vendors, businesses, services, talent. So I have this. The first time it was amazing. It was good vibes. It was like a big block party. Everybody's just eating.
fun.
You know, having a good time. Presto One was on the decks. JR Beatbox was my co-host, and like it was just a big family party. You know. And then this time around is April 29th at Downtown Container Park from 12 to 8. Same thing, kind of a line, but my lineup is a little bit bigger this time around, so it's growing. Lots of vendors that are, you know, interested. So if you guys are interested in coming out,
Wanna
like,
say
would
hi.
love to set up a table. You guys can do like a small, like,
Oh, that'd
little
be cool.
podcast out there. That would be cool.
potential guests ourselves. So
Yeah,
and,
no,
you know,
that'd be cool.
interview like the talents and stuff. But for me, it's like if I can give back, it's a free event, so it's not like I'm trying to, you know, get everybody to pay a ticket price or anything. Like it doesn't even matter. For me, the joy comes from like, hey, let's share the craft, let's share each other's talent, and let's see how we can all collab, right? Like.
Yes.
And if B-Stan can come on and be a guest, would love to have you.
With Mrs.
Yes,
B-Stang,
Mrs.
you're
B-Stang.
set. We can get that accomplished. Don't you worry, we got you, Tony.
Well, we'll be there.
We'll be there.
Yeah, we'd love to have you guys, and it's fun. Bring the kids. They play Jenga.
That's a
and
great
they're
spot,
Aw.
Container Park.
Yeah,
I love
that's a
actually
cute
the
spot.
whole concept of the containers as future homes too.
Yeah.
I love that. So I think that's a great spot to have your event being held there.
Yeah,
So
it'll
we'll
be
sure
fun.
to check it out.
Thank you
for
guys
the
so
invite.
much for being here.
Oh, thank you guys for having us. This is
Tell
super
us
fun.
where people can find you, like on what your social media or your website.
Well, for my personal one, it's TRPL or TRP Lopez _ and or TRPL Real Estate on IG, and then for 9 Doors Down.
For 9 Doors Down, it's just NINE spelled out, Doors Down. That's the Instagram. That's our YouTube. That's our Facebook. And then you can also find us on 9doorsdown.com.
Nice.
But there's also my regular page is just Deuce _DJ.
Great.
And then that's where you can find family, turntablism, and real estate, and whatever stuff I can
The
get
tornado.
whatever chaos I find myself in.
Nice. Well, we thank you again for giving us of your time. I know you guys have busy schedules, lives, and everything all in above, but it was great to have you guys. I know it's going to be more fun for you guys. Continue on with your successes, and I don't think any issues along the way, because if not, you guys, honestly, you guys got good backbones. You guys have good support from each other.
Back to
And
the
I
kids.
think, yes, when in doubt, just it doesn't matter where you're at. I mean, I think you guys, you're solid. So we appreciate your time, and thank you for giving us of your time too as well.
Yeah, no, thank you
for
guys.
thinking of us. I
Yeah.
mean, you guys rock. Like, moms unite. Let's go. International Women's Day. I just learned about
You
it
love
yesterday.
To dance. I know you love to dance. So I was like, that's
Tanya's
Tony.
your-
I love to
Tanya's
dance. So
your
when in
partner.
doubt, they're
Nice.
working.
Let's go.
The dance floor. Yeah,
There you go.
that's my outlet
Let's
right there.
do it. Yeah.
Thank
Well, thank you again.
Thank you guys.
Tune us in on another episode of DJ Wives LV, and join us on the next episode. Thank you again.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.